Hey, Kapasa Mufasa is Brandon back with another video. So I had the pleasure of talking with Joel Famularo for my podcast. If you guys aren't following already on the podcast, it's the Quick Flash Podcast. And that's something that I have. It's all over the place now. So if you could just do like a quick Google search, you could find it. That's, just a place where we talk about photography stuff, entrepreneurship, leadership stuff. And so if you're interested, you go check it out. Anyways, I got to talk with Joel for a little bit there. Obviously, we're in completely different time zones. He's in Australia and I'm here in the US. But we were able to get it done, and we were able to actually sit down and talk about some of the new things that are coming for Phantom Luts. And Joel's kind of hinting that he's going to maybe start up his YouTube channel. He's going to be doing some new things with the LUTs and maybe expanding it amongst different cameras. So anyways, this is going to be something different. This video is actually going to be kind of long. It's going to be over an hour long, and I'm going to try and timestamp it as best as I can. You guys can kind of just scroll through and see some of the things that might interest you. So if you guys aren't already followers to the Quick Flash Podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you go give it a listen. But anyways, here is the full video. Video quality is kind of crappy because of the Zoom call quality and all that, and even the audio too. But, it's what you can do, I guess, when you guys are, halfway across the world. I hope you guys like the video, and let's roll the intro. Hey there, it's Brendan Rogers, and you're listening to the Quick Flash Podcast. Here, we talk about everything photography, videography, and living a fulfilling life. We talk with other photographers, videographers, and entrepreneurs where we can all learn how to grow personally and on a business level. Thank you so much for swinging by our podcast, and let's start the show. Thanks for doing this, by the way.
No worries. Nice setup you got there. Yeah. Is that a new setup?
It's kind of some of the recent stuff I've been doing for the YouTube talking heads and stuff. I added a blue light back in the closet to kind of.
That's great. You've got the daylight, you got the tungsten, you got the blue,
teal and orange. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It looks nice.
Yeah, science, I guess.
Science.
The color science or whatever.
That's
color
right.
Theory,
That's
color
right.
theory. So what's going on, dude? How you been? It's good to finally meet you. And
yeah, true.
Through
it's a crazy time where I am, man. Like there's like riots going on, and that's kind of I'd lie if that wasn't sort of. Yesterday was a really big. Yes, the last 2 days are two big sort of. I don't know if I'd say riots, but like protests.
Yeah.
And the government, and we've been in today we just became the longest ever city or ever state in lockdown.
Wow.
So we've been in lockdown 270 days or something. Like that's it's approaching 9 months.
Wow.
I think off the top of my head. I mean, more. I mean, I'm just pulling that off the top of my head. 360, 120, 240 would be 2/3, right? Which would be 9. So we're maybe closer to, 10 months.
Oh, my Lord.
10 months, getting close to that, yeah. It's been crazy. Over the last 18 months, it's been 10 out of 18 months we've been in lockdown.
No kidding.
So anyway... So yeah, like I don't want to be a downer. That's just kind of what's going on here. So yeah, really nothing, not really shooting or anything, but just working on LUTs. Actually, it's been good because I've been doing a bit of work on that, and and spending time with my family.
Oh,
there's definitely an upside.
Yeah. I mean, there's an upside to that. Actually, I've been hearing it on the news and Twitter and all that stuff. It's just been. It's crazy, the protests and everything that are happening. I mean,
yeah. And I mean, it's just like so fresh. So that's probably, that's why I mentioned it. But ultimately, I'm doing well. Nothing to complain about, really. Apart from
the shoots,
the collapse of my society,
right? Oh man, so you're not really doing, or at least shoots in Australia. Then I mean, right now, then
no, in different states. I think like up the north, Yeah, we're the state where the industry has just been destroyed. Like, I don't want to be too negative, but it has been largely castrated, and then you'll and we'll have, because what happens is you'll get out of lockdown, and then you're like, all right, you don't know how long it is till the next lockdown, but sure enough, a few weeks go by, and you'll get 1 day notice, like, oh, there's 3 cases. We're gonna have to lock down, and so we locked down.
No.
And then the last time was, I think, 6 weeks ago, 5, 6 weeks ago. It was meant to be a 1 week lockdown, and we're still in lockdown like 6 weeks later, and we will be till December. So you can't get any shoots off the ground or anything like that. So it's look, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna tell you the truth. It's kind of a crappy time,
right.
But on the positive side of things, I'm just basically decided in the last week or two I'm going full time, at least for the meantime, with the Luts. I'm going to do it full time, because I haven't been. I've been doing it as a side thing alongside cinematography.
Right.
But I'm right now, there's not really any work going on, so I'm like, well, you know what? And it's like so many tutorials I want to do, and I want to teach. I want to do videos about exposing. Everyone uses the in-camera meter, and I'm like, it's not about the in-camera meter.
Right.
When I say don't overexpose, so there's lots of things I have to explain, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sort of get my YouTube channel up and running. So it's good. I'm pivoting, and I'm actually excited about it.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, you might. I'm going to take down my other video, because I had a video planned for this week on just because some of the video that I posted on the LUT, some of the people were asking, like, well, if you could show like how to use them, like in whatever, in Final Cut Pro or whatever. Just kind of, so I'm waiting on some footage from a wedding of ours that we did a couple months ago, and once I get that footage, then we'll
let me send you the new LUT too, because
really?
Yeah. And I've just sort of hit the ground running with this interview. Did you have like certain things you wanted to cover? I've sort of hijacked it.
No,
Did you
want
to talk about anything?
I just wanted, like, we could just put like a face to the name at this point, really, because I mean, your videos are really, really great. I saw them, like 2 years ago, when it was the first time I encountered it, and the voice, you should do voiceover work. It's very, very relaxing video. When you watch through it, I was like, oh man.
It's not the first time I've heard that, actually. It's funny. I should really consider that, maybe.
Yeah, it does. It's a really relaxing video when you're watching your intro to how the LUTs are used and stuff. And I was like, man, it just makes,
That's great.
Yeah. So,
well, yes. So I'll tell you the backstory. So what's happened this year? Sorry about the sneeze. Sorry. You can edit that part out.
Don't let anyone see you.
I know. Delta's a killer. I basically, I'm trying out right now. I'm working on a new update for all the LUTs across all the cameras. So it's a big update, and I've been wanting to do it for a while, but because of all these lockdowns and other things, like I had a surgery, and we had I had a month where I could have shot, because I needed to shoot, with like 4 cameras all stacked together with the Alexa, and I needed to get an assistant. And so I couldn't do it during lockdown. And so I had a month before my surgery, and then I had bad weather. And then after my surgery, I had my Alexa sensor. I needed to get it replaced. It actually
oh no,
was on its last legs. And so I had to get a new sensor, which wasn't cheap, but it looks better. Like, it looks better now. It's less green, and it's more, it's obviously like the latest Arri sensor. Now they say they're all the same from 10 years ago to today, but I have a sneaking feeling they've made some little tweaks, because the colors are better. So there's a new update coming across all the cameras, matched to my new Alexa sensor.
Oh, okay.
Which I will keep. That'll be the central look moving forward, because I'm going to make these for Canon. Again, that's another reason I'm going full time, because I keep getting requests.
Right.
People like, I love your LUTs. Can you make them for Canon or Z Cam or red.
Right.
Panasonic, So I'm going to be doing that, but I needed to get the look all aligned to this one sensor because I've had 3 Arri sensors now. I've had an Arri Camera, which then I had my Arri Alexa. I sold that, bought the Alexa Mini, and then its sensor was quite green. And then I now have the new sensor. So yeah, I'm going to get them all lined up with this newer sensor, and I'm going to keep this camera for the next 5-10 years. So every camera that I add in the future will have the same look. And I build all the other LUTs basically off of that neutral LUT. So once I get the Alexa emulation right for a camera sensor, it's quite easy for me then to just, or even the film looks, they're built off of that emulation.
Oh, really?
So it's all about that emulation, yeah. And once I get that, I have all the other looks saved as projects, and it's almost like a mannequin. I can put a different outfit on top of the
Gotcha.
yeah. So it's all about getting that emulation right. So that's what I'm working on right now. Literally yesterday, I dropped back. I borrowed an FX9 for the last 5 days. I've just dropped it back.
Nice.
I got an FS7. I'm dropping back that tomorrow. So I've lined up all the cameras, and yeah, and I'm just getting better at doing it. So I'm really excited.
Was it hard at first? Your first time trying to copy to match with the Alexa the first time?
It took me 3 months the first time. It took me 3 months. Yeah, it was a learning curve, and I only just learned recently this Alexa sensor thing where they can have slight variations. They all do have variations with white balance and tint, just like A7S3s. Like you can have 2 A7S3s. You'd set them both to 5,500 Kelvin, and one might look more, magenta and cool. So what you have to do is you don't have to use auto white balance. I personally rarely do, but if you're doing interviews, I'm going to make a video about this. Like get a color chart or a gray card before you roll. Get both cameras to at least look at it at the same time in the same conditions, and you can do it in post. In DaVinci, you can just auto white balance.
With
or you can do it
color picker.
Yeah, the color picker, or you can do it. There's a few ways you can do it. You can do it in camera. I personally just do it in post. But then once you do that, the matching between cameras will be a lot better.
Gotcha.
Whereas it wasn't how I did it with the previous LUTs. With the previous LUTs, I tried to create an offset. So I tried to make my A7S3 at 5,500 look like my Alexa at 5,500.
I got you.
But that idea is out the window now. I'm going to be using anyway. I'll explain all this in the video. But a lot going on. And it's exciting, and I can't wait to get them out because they're looking beautiful. So what I was going to say was, I'll send you the prototype for the A7S3, the new one.
Hey, I'm down to try it. I'm totally down to try it out. Yeah, dude, it's basically that's the go-to now at this point. It's either like if you want to look, you want like just. You can either it's funny. I mean, I'm sure you'll talk about it, but you can either use it as like the Rec 709, just kind of like standard, and then you can drop another LUT on top of if you want or something. It really is. There's no like, I don't know. There's really no limitations on it. It's crazy. It's just amazing.
It's just like when you have an Alexa, when you shoot on Alexa, everything always looks good, basically. It always looks very natural, but kind of looks like natural, but just with a twist of it's like better than real life. And then, and it's very filmic. I mean, the Alexa, its whole goal was to emulate film. And there's so many different little things I've figured out along the way that are so cool. Like, and I'm going to probably make a video about this, but there's lots of little things that the Alexa does that other cameras don't do, which make it special and make it filmic.
Yeah, I've been thinking of picking one up for the YouTube videos. But,
oh wow!
No, just kidding. I'm joking. I'm playing. It's funny. I have a friend of mine who shoots on the A7S3 for weddings, and when I told him I was going to get an A7S for the YouTube channel, he kind of shook his head. Was like, "Well, why? Why?" But no, it's fun.
It's so good.
How did you come like? Your first time buying an Arri camera, what was that process like, or the thought process behind it?
It's pretty terrifying. It's pretty terrifying because I got the Amira, and it was the biggest gamble I think in my life. Like, because my cinematography career was going well, and I just am a perfectionist. Like I just want to shoot on the Arri. Like it was just funny. I just wanted everything to look of a certain standard. And I guess I just backed myself and believed in myself that I would be shooting stuff, footage and projects of the quality that earned the Arri look. So this was probably 2 years ago now, maybe a little longer. And I found a secondhand seller, and it took a few months of going back, and I don't know, maybe a month or two, and I had to sort of, I had to transfer my money into US dollars, and it was because it was an overseas, and I had to import it in. But it was probably one of the best things I ever did, because it did help my cinematography career for sure, and it also, with the LUTs and everything, it just, I don't know, I've always been, this is something about me I've been thinking recently, like when I'm a songwriter and a musician as well. Like I used to have a couple of bands. Yeah.
Oh, nice,
and
nice.
I grew up with no money. My family wasn't, I wouldn't say poor, but we didn't have any money. So we never had lessons. My family never had lessons to, like us kids never were taught anything officially, just didn't have the money for it. So I self-taught. I was very self-taught, and I would make do with lower quality equipment all the time. And so with my band, I used to record songs on a $15 microphone.
Oh, wow.
And I could show you one of these songs. And I don't think you would. I think you'd be surprised to hear that I recorded on a $15 microphone. But it was literally like a pencil mic, like a little dome, the little rod, and like those mics you would just use on a computer. Gotcha. But I just made it work. Like I've always had that in me, that I guess that desire to, I don't know, I guess to punch above the weight of the equipment I have. So it makes sense that now I'm making LUTs like this for people with cheaper cameras. It's like, hey, let's get the absolute maximum out of these cheaper cameras. And obviously an A7S III isn't cheap, but it's like 10 times less expensive than Alexa.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, the most impressive one was the Blackmagic, actually. I thought it was just incredible. I know you even said it was like having an Alexa Mini, right? Or a pocket micro, Alexa Micro. Yeah.
I would actually say the A7S III was even easier to match. I think it because it's got more dynamic range, and its rolling shutter is really good. Like I think if ever I have to shoot, if I'm on a shoot with an Alexa and I want it to be cam, I think I'd probably go the FX6 now or the A7S III. Pocket 4K is still amazing, but it's just this little things like the small batteries and the rolling shutter, the smaller sensor, yada yada.
Yeah, you got to out. Yeah, no.
But they're all amazing. Yeah, they're amazing cameras for the price. It's amazing that in 2021 we have access. Like you really do have access to cameras that can make incredible images. So so I've always, since I was younger, I've always, I guess, just tinkered and figured out ways to absolutely squeeze the juice out of whatever I had. So yeah, that's kind of the impetus behind the LUTs, I think.
How much was the camera, if you don't, or do you mind saying it, or we could
cut it out?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it wasn't cheap. It was a lot more than an A7S III. But it did help me. It did help me get some better jobs. It helped me here.
Gotcha. Of course,
it helped me get jobs, and it paid for itself.
Did you ever rent it out at all, or did you ever consider? You did.
Yeah. No, for sure. And even same with the Alexa. Like when you've got a camera in that much in demand, there's demand even for rentals. Yeah.
Yeah. And is it? So are you able to shoot by yourself, or do you always need an assistant to help you when you're shooting?
Good question. I could shoot with the Mini if I had a zoom lens and the Alexa Mini. I could shoot by myself, but I tend to have an assistant when I do jobs with the Mini, just because the budgets are higher, so they expect an assistant, and it just to change lenses, it's faster to sort of give it to the assistant. I can talk to the director.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And what kind of like gigs do you do? What's your like main before the lockdowns and stuff?
Yeah, the lockdowns. It's been crazy. I mean, just like TV commercials, music videos,
Oh,
documentaries a little bit, short films, like a bit of everything. Probably
okay.
focusing, in the future more on commercials. I'd say focusing more on commercials in the future, and music videos. That I like narrative music videos. If you look at a lot of the music videos I've done, they're usually almost like short films where they have actors and characters and stories, because
Gotcha.
that's more fun to me, and it's more difficult, I think, for me anyway. It's more of a challenge to tell a story without dialogue. You can
Mm.
just visually communicate information. That's to me pure cinema. Um, but yeah, like I'm like I said, a full time with the Luts. I also shoot a bit of stock video, which is a great little way to make
Okay.
a bit of passive income. So, um, yeah, probably going to be a little bit more choosy with the cinematography projects I pick now, because the Luts, I've been so fortunate; they've been pretty successful, been pretty
Oh yeah.
popular.
Yeah, yeah,
That,
definitely.
and especially if I sort of now take that opportunity to make them for more cameras,
Right.
hopefully it'll
Yeah.
financially just take care of itself over time. But I'm also planning on making new looks as well. It's
Okay.
at a certain point. I'm just trying to think of the right way to go about it. Like if I want to do another set of film stocks, like another 5, or if I want to just do a totally different thing. But I
Mhm.
do have new ideas for new looks.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
So
Nice. Nice. So you're gonna branch out to, because I mean, honestly, that was the, because I don't know if we should mention it at all, but I mean, obviously there's another LUT creator that has their LUTs based off of the Arri kind of Alexa style. But the drawback to, I guess, the Phantom LUTs was always they're kind of limited to Sony and Blackmagic.
yeah.
So that's actually really amazing to hear now that there's going to be an expansion to other cameras. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
just had to. Yeah, I needed the time, because it takes a lot of time to get it right,
right, right,
and then once you do it, you then need to support them. Like if you run into a problem, or if you have an
hmm
idea to improve them,
right, right, yeah,
um, you need time then to update them, and I always update for free,
yeah.
so it's just a lot of time. But now I'm gonna have that time, so I'm actually really looking forward to it. Because I love when people contact me and say, like, I shot this with your lights and it looks, great. And it just, I don't know. It's like watching my children succeed. It's like my LUTs are out there sort of doing me proud. I don't know. I
It's so
really get
funny.
a kick out of
It really
it.
is. I mean, because it's funny when you shoot like on the A7 III, for example, and you shoot an HLG, or those profiles, you get used to a certain like look, I guess, that comes out of the camera, and you're kind of used to the Sony look.
Yeah.
And when you use the Phantom LUT for the very first time, you're just like, you're just. It's hard to explain. It really is hard to explain it, but it's just like, what? I didn't even know this was capable. Like this was even possible to look this good on this camera. You
Yeah.
always kind of just assumed it looked kind of like, lower end
I
camera
love,
or
I love, I
something.
love doing that. I love pushing the boundaries. It's some honestly, I love when people, like, it's a classic cliche, but it's like, this is the line, you can't go further than this, or this is the capability of something. I
Right.
love going, really, what about this? I love sort of challenging people's preconceptions, and um yeah, it's really part of my personality. So it's great that, like, this suits me. It really suits me doing this, and I really love doing it.
Dang. Yeah, it really is. It really
I'll
is
tell you.
crazy.
Can I tell you one little cool? Like, there's a bunch of these little character, like, personality traits, or idiosyncrasies of the Alexa. I'll give you one example. Right, I was hinting at before. So there's this thing the Alexa does. It's called hue curling. That's what I call it, and it's where, as certain colors get more saturated, they actually curl into new colors.
Okay.
So what you'll notice is, so like a really green, if you're shooting like a green field and it's really saturated green, what the Alexa does is the green extends out into the vector scope, right? You know, like the vector scope, it's like a squid. Like if you've got different colors, it goes out, and more saturated the further out from the center it gets. So you'll watch a color like green, it goes out, and the more saturated it gets, it twists yellow. And so you get this rich, complex green, which has this kind of these overtones of yellow and green. And it's like, there's just a lot. Plus, as luminance reaches white, so as the image gets brighter, the saturation starts to wear off to the point where it's very desaturated near white. And that's part of the highlight roll off. And that's because your eye is drawn to contrast and color saturation. So you have the most contrast in the mids of the image and the most saturation in the mids of the image. And as you approach the black point and the white point, you lose saturation and you lose contrast. So all these things are psychologically working on making, when you look at that image, you're there going, like you were just describing, like, what is that possible? There's this complex color science there that, and the hue curling is really cool because it happens with blues. So blue will go out and then it starts twisting cyan. Red twists magenta. And so it just, you capture a scene and you look at the Alexa and it's like, it looks like real life, but better. Because it's just a little bit of extra non-linear hue curling going on, which I assume it took from film. Because film, you know what I mean? Because it really based its look on film. So I love that stuff. And I only figured that out probably 5 months ago. Like, so I'm still figuring stuff out. It's amazing. Like, but honestly, I'm pretty far along now where I think I've got a lot of the secrets figured out. I don't think Arri would be too happy with me.
Yeah, I mean, it really gets you like 95%, like what, 95% of the way there. It's not obviously ever going to be that. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can get it pretty close though.
Well, there's a little bit more dynamic range with the Arri, and there's still sometimes the Arri has certain things that still I'm like, how do they do that? But yeah, I could go on, honestly, dude. I'm such a nerd with this stuff. It's just, to me, it's just like a problem to solve. It's like a Rubik's Cube. So I'm just very lucky that people pay me to do it, because I would do it anyway, but it's great that I can actually, this is kind of becoming my job. I love doing it.
You're the luck guy. I mean, it really is. It really, I mean, it is a great tool, and I always recommend it for anybody. And it's important to know that a lot of them, you probably know this, but the mirrorless cameras, even the C70, like there's like a comparison I saw of the C70 versus the FX6, and they both look very similar because I think they're trying to lean more in towards that, that Alexa, color space, color science. They're all kind of trying to kind of replicate that as close as they can. It's just,
you'd be crazy not to.
It's the gold standard. Yeah, I mean,
it's the gold standard. Yeah,
you're right.
It just feels very organic. It doesn't feel digital. And that's.
I mean, that's Hollywood is most of Hollywood shot on Arri.
That's right. So, I mean, and even in the musical world, even the musical world where I came from, there's lots of emulation, like tape emulation, and there's lots of analog emulation where people are trying to capture the warmth and the imperfection and the non-linearity of analog processes. So across all artistic fields, it's like we're trying to use digital to copy the best of the past and the best of the present, because obviously shooting on Alexa is a lot easier than shooting on film. It's so easy. You just press button. You don't have to worry about film and running out of film and getting it exposed.
Did you ever shoot on film or no?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't.
Okay.
Because I didn't.
I was curious.
Yeah, I didn't start taking cinematography seriously till film was sort of over. I do want to though. I want to start by getting a stills camera and just exposing with film and taking still photos, and then for the right project.
It needs a lot of light. You were about to say that. Yeah, it needs a lot of light. A lot of light.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I
You've
mean,
shot film?
yeah, for photography,
Yeah.
wedding photography. So there's like a joke that you have to overexpose by like 2-3 stops the film
Yeah.
just to get that pastel colors and stuff. Like on Fuji 400, you get really good. I probably rate it for like a ISO 100 or something to kind of
Wow.
overstove it by like 2 stops, and it's still like the dynamic range and everything is still there. It's just to get that like pastel-y,
Yeah.
light, bright and airy look. It's kind of what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It needs a lot of light, so my shutter speeds are 1/25 or something really really slow shutter speeds, wide open apertures, and just to get
Yeah.
in the amount of light that I need. It's crazy.
Yeah. And obviously that's kind of a great example of why shooting digital is the actual process of shooting is easier, because like the Alexa's native ISO is 800, which is just basically unheard of in film stocks, like to get a clean image at 800. So, and you can shoot it up to higher ISOs and it's still very clean. So yeah, like the actual workflow of shooting digital, but with the image of film is kind of that sweet spot,
Gotcha.
which I think everyone's trying to hit.
What's the most like the most memorable thing somebody said about your LUTs to you, or what's the best compliment somebody's given you, like when somebody's reached out to you?
Good question, man. I'm starting to save them because it's cool to sort of have like a little repository of that kind of stuff. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't say there's any one, but there's a common thread, a pattern where people just say, I've spent hundreds of dollars on LUTs and they, yours are the best, kind of thing. And like, a really simple practical benefit, which I get a kick out of, is people just say, hey man, it saves me time. Like, it just saves me time. And I'm like, time is money, and that's what's great on the Alexa. You shoot in the Alexa, you just come back and you're like, all right, if I couldn't grade this, it would probably be good to go out. Yeah. That's a great starting point. And then you want it, you will grade it, but it's just, why should a camera not do that? Right. Why should you have to like fight with it and go, oh, I like, that's the thing with the old Sonys, man. You had to overexpose them, or they were too noisy, and they were always, the colors were funky and weird, and skin tones are all, it was just terrible color science. And that's how I got started, by trying to correct that.
Yeah.
You
did the A6600 or something, I think, also, right?
I did the FS7, which those LUTs work well with all of those older cameras because the color science is all very similar. The newer color science is quite a big departure, but yeah, the FS7 was the camera I used.
Oh, okay.
Initially. Man. But yeah, just to compliments, I guess it's just nice when people say, just like what you said, just that wow factor. Just like, they're like, I don't know like what you're doing, but it's like they can't, almost the fact that they can't put it into words, and how happy they are and how much they sort of I don't know. It's just a great feeling to be able to save people time, to be able to give them, to help them achieve their vision, right? Because that's why I got started doing this, because I would go out and shoot something and I'd bring it back on my FS5. That was one of my first cameras.
Oh, man.
and an A7S Mark I. I had an A7S Mark I and FS5. And it was like, I did my job. I shot that well. I got the right lenses. I got the lighting right. I got the actor. I did all that. But I couldn't get a good image out of this damn camera. And it just cheapened all of my efforts.
Right.
And it was like, so that's why I started making LUTs, because there just wasn't, I couldn't find a good way there was no LUTs out there that I liked. So I'm like, I'll make them myself. I honestly never made them to sell them. I made them for me. People started commenting, going, how are you getting that look? And I was like, oh, I made these. And they asked to buy them. And I was like, okay. It wasn't an intention. But the idea that I can sort of help you, you have the idea, you do all the hard work, and it's like, this will just help. It'll just solve a lot of your problems with the color grading, and the color correction. It's great. It's sort of a great thing to be a part of, because I know how that feels.
Does anyone ever get mad that when you tell them like not to overexpose? Like,
yeah, people. So I can give you a brief rundown. Basically, here's the problem with that. When I said do that, I was speaking technically. So what I meant was, You don't have to overexpose to prevent noise. That was never an artistic recommendation. So if you want to overexpose, good. Secondly, or if you want underexpose, fine, do whatever you want. That's the point. These camera sensors allow you to do a lot. You have more freedom. The other thing is people use the in-camera meter on the A7S III. They have to understand that's an averaging. It's taking an average of the scene. So great. Right. So to take two extremes to illustrate the point, I don't ever look at that light meter, and often it's misleading. Sometimes the correct exposure is 0.0 EV. Sometimes it's 1.7, like Gerald says. Sometimes it's under 1 or 2 because it's taking the average. So a great example is someone contacted me saying he was filming a snowboarder in the snow. So 80% of the image is white, bright, hot snow and a little bit of sky. And he's like, I've overexposed at 1.7 stops and it still looks underexposed. I'm like, it is underexposed because the snow was so bright that the subject, the snowboarder, looked very dark. So I'm like, according to the in-camera light meter, you should have probably overexposed by 3 or 4 stops to get the right exposure for that particular scene. Because again, in average, it's super bright, but that's what it's meant to look like. It's snow. Same as if you're shooting the desert, sand, it's very bright. So you have the right exposure will not be found in the in-camera light meter. The opposite example would be if you had a dark scene where most of the scene is nighttime and you had somebody writing a letter by a candle and their face is exposed properly because they're the subject. There's a little bit of moonlight maybe in the background, but that overall scene for the mood is very dark. So the in-camera light meter would probably say -2 stops underexposed because it's taking an overall. You understand what I'm saying? But that's the right exposure for that scene
for the skin, or
because the subject is what the exposure's about there,
right.
So people need to understand that in-camera light meter is a very blunt instrument, and I'm gonna have to make a video about this saying, look. Expose. I never meant to have every shot at 0.0 EV on the light meter because people will. They go, I exposed at 0 and it's too dark, and I'm like, yeah, it is too dark. You underexposed for that scene. You working with film would probably you'd get it. You'd understand.
Yeah. Well, I made an exposure video and with the LUTs in mind, and it's basic. I mean, honestly, with the gamma display on the little screen. If you just expose like that, I mean, you're okay. But when I showed like, you should do maybe 50, 55 on the skin, for skin tones on the zebras, that sort of thing, and walk through the whole process. And there's still some comments or people like, you're just exposing to the right. You're still exposing to the right. It was like, well, it's still dependent on like what you're exposing for. And
if I was shooting fashion, if I was shooting like a bright fashion, high key scene, I might expose skin tones at 65. That's right for that shoot.
Exactly.
So there's such a thing as style. Like there are different genres. There's a horror film, and then there's a science fiction film, and there's a TV commercial. TV commercial, I might overexpose a bit more, you know what I mean, and add contrast. So people ultimately, I confuse a lot of people with that. I'm going to have to update the README and make a video to like, okay, never meant every single shot should be at 0.0. Not what I meant.
It's just,
that's my fault.
Well, no, I think it's still, it just still shows to the flexibility, I guess, of the how once the light when you apply it. And then I think you've already had some videos too showing like, hey, if it looks a little too dark, just go into the curves a little bit and just push the mids up with, and you're good. If it's still too dark. The amazing thing is with these sensors, even if you do underexpose, I've had a few guys contact me like, I underexposed the FX6 or the A7S III, and you can boost it a stop and it's still clean. It's insane. It's like the Alexa. That's what the Alexa's like. It's just like, there's so much wiggle room. You kind of, it's just very forgiving. Wow. Does it shoot RAW by any chance? I don't know if I've never shot on one. It does. It shoots RAW. Oh, okay.
Alexa Mini does. Yeah.
So you have that.
I never do. I just shoot ProRes 4. Whatever it is, 4.4s. Yeah,
So like what's
four
like
square cubes.
is that like 10 billion colors? I don't know how many.
Yeah.
It's a lot of colors.
It's very high. Yeah, it's just below raw, but it's yeah, raw is
Wow.
just a beast, like gigantic file sizes, and you don't really need it for most things. But yeah, man. So
What do you think your
um,
biggest challenge is at this point now for to try and achieve this? What's going to be your biggest like hurdle or drawback to try and get like to get the colors to match or to get the LUT to match across all these cameras? Like, what cameras are you planning on starting
so
to?
I'm gonna be doing the the challenge is right now it's actually lockdown. So I've actually just shot the last 5 days in my house in my backyard.
Okay.
I've got a lot of I've got color charts. I've got like
Mm.
plenty of grass in my backyard. So I'd love ordinarily to go out and shoot um all around this like all around town. Go to just get all of the colors that I need. Um, I did get enough because I have the color charts and I made sure that
Mm.
I was smart about how I did it. But it's always ideal to basically with new cameras. The advantage in the past, I've always owned the cameras that I've supported or I've had access to test footage. It's good because it's good to have test footage like in my controlled setting when I create the footage for the LUTs, where I have color charts and everything. But it's also good just to have people send me footage and go, just send me footage from projects. Because you might be like, there's just colors so complex. So you might be like, everything looks fine in the test
Mm-hmm.
charts, but then you'll go on some real footage and it's like, oh, it's a tungsten scene, someone having a dinner, and the right side of their face is very in shadow, and then you might have like it might be really deep orange, and you're like, oh, I didn't see that in my tests. So you need like, or you might have little anomalies like that, like, oh, red's really a traffic light.
Mm-hmm.
It really looks bizarre. So
Uh-huh.
color is very complex. So it's the challenge will just be ultimately me getting access to these cameras, and then but then I'll just put the word out. I'll say, hey, anybody has footage. That's what I do. I often will just ask people like, hey, if you want to help me develop these, just send me footage as much as you can.
Are
And
you on like Twitter or Instagram, or how do you ask
on
people?
Instagram, uh, often I get a lot of emails. So I
Okay.
get a lot of emails from people asking me to make them for new cameras.
Oh, okay.
So I just, when it comes time to that, like the FX9, I was a bit behind the 8 ball with that. It probably took me 6 to 8 months before I finally did that because again, I was busy as a DP. But when I did, I had a bunch of people who had already emailed me, and I just said, "Hey, send me." So I had a lot of footage to play with,
Gotcha.
and the mixture of real world footage with test footage is the way to do it.
Gotcha.
Um, so the next camera is to answer the other question. I'm going to be doing drone. I'm getting a
Ooh.
lot of requests for drones because a lot of guys they want to match their drones to their
Right.
cameras.
Yeah, that's the issue I have. If I shoot with a drone
Yeah, everyone
on a
has that issue. Yeah,
yeah, it's like I can't. How can I match it to the Phantom Lut? There's just no way. I usually end up honestly.
exactly.
I end up using Film Convert usually to try and
Yep.
match those at that point. If I have
Yeah.
drone footage with the A7S, so yeah. Well, that's great. That's
Yeah.
good to know. Which are you going to do, the Air 2 or the?
Well, this is the question. I should probably have another conversation with you about that because I don't really use drones.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking the Mavic. Apparently, the Mavic 3 is coming out.
I think so.
Um,
Yeah, that's what I've
like
been
very
waiting
soon.
for.
I
Hmm.
heard that like literally yesterday. I didn't know about this till yesterday. Someone's like, "Oh, wait for the Mavic
Yeah,
3."
yeah. There's Air
So I mean, I don't know.
2.
I might get a few. I might get the Mavic 2, Mavic 3. I don't know. I'll have to look into which one's the most popular, which one's going to be the most beneficial for people. If I don't want to make it
Probably.
for like a drone that nobody has.
It might be probably if once they release the new one, yeah, it'll be the Pro, the 3 Pro, and then I think now they have the Air 2S, which had
What
like
about the Phantom? Are they a bit? They're a bit more expensive, aren't they?
they are, yeah, they're
Yeah.
I want to say just under 10,000 maybe.
Okay. Well.
So that's like more of a, but I mean, for that would probably be beneficial though to people who are DPs and
They all
all
have
that sort of
different
thing.
sensors, don't they? They all have different
Yeah.
sensors.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm, yeah.
that
So the
just takes
Air,
time.
I think the
Yeah,
Air 2 has like a 3/4 sensor, like a 3/4 sensor, like an inch sensor, and then the Air 2S got upgraded to a 1 inch sensor, and the Pros usually have a 1 inch sensor. And then
yeah,
the color depths are different on all of them. I think most of them are shooting 8-bit. The Pro shoots 10-bit.
yeah.
So yeah, there's just
I'd
different.
only probably do the 10-bit ones, and I think you could. I think I'll figure it out. So the challenge is doing my homework, like so I don't charge off doing something that I haven't really thought through. So it'll be drones, and then I want to do Canon and Ursa Mini.
Oh,
I get a
nice.
lot of requests for those, and then a lot for the Komodo as well, the Reds, just in general.
Okay.
Um, I've even had requests from Venice owners, people who own the Venice, who want their
Oh,
Venice to
wow.
like an Alexa. So
Dang.
maybe yeah, I don't know if the demand would be there, but I know that, yeah, the Venice already has a really nice look, but everyone likes the Alexa look. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Don't
kind of
blame them.
impossible not to. Yeah, I know, it's like it's
I
just
mean,
stunning. Yeah,
well, I
but
definitely would. One day we'll hopefully. I mean, I don't think I'll ever own ever own one. Oh, who knows? But just gosh, like it's just the
yeah.
price.
Well,
Just it's a big investment.
yeah, and exactly, and honestly, like you've got to need it for the right reason. Like I like even having like so many. What I love about having the FX6 and the A7S3 is often I'll do like in music videos. I've done a few scenes where we're driving in cars, and I could rig up my Alexa on the car. And I mean, it would cost more money. I need to pay to get a bigger rig and a grip, and
Mhm.
it's just that you're terrified it'll fall off or something. Not that it would, but you're just going to have to spend more money and more time. Whereas I can just whack an A7S3 with a smaller car rig, and it intercuts. Like I'll show you this music video I've got coming out in a few months. All the car stuff was done with the A7S3. Even a music video I released a few months ago, all the car stuff was A7S3, cuts seamlessly. So that's where it's great to have these little cameras, like, or where they're, especially because of the rolling shutter. That's a big deal that the rolling shutter was so improved with these new cameras, because that was always the giveaway with cheaper cameras was if you went handheld, it would turn into jelly. So you always had to sort of keep the movement slow, and obviously, yeah, whip panning. You get the rolling shutter, but the Alexa, it's like a film camera. You can go really rough handheld, and the image holds together. But it's the same in these new Sonys now. So, which the pocket cameras don't have. Even the FX9 doesn't have that, which is crazy. The FX9 has the old, slower rolling shutter like the FS7. So if you're, and then if you shoot anamorphic, it gets even worse. Shoot anamorphic, the effect is enhanced. So anyway, so I love these new Sony cameras. I think they're great. So
Nice.
I mean, do you still own your? Was it the 6K you had or the 4K you had?
The 4K. No, I sold it to buy the A7S because
Yep.
yeah.
What do you find the difference?
Um, as far as like the like using between like the user experience maybe between the Pocket 4K and the A7S.
Yeah.
It's the
The
reason I saw it
Pocket's
was
easier to use, right?
it's
Yeah.
easier to use. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just a pain. It really was a pain. Like I could see it being more beneficial to like paid gigs like that you're doing interview and B-roll or whatever, like little interviews here and there. Then obviously that's probably the camera I would get or use for those type of things. But I don't know. The A7S is it's just so convenient. And
Yeah.
then the autofocus is, I mean, I don't really have to talk too much about it because everybody already knows. I mean, it really is a great camera, and then use it for everything
Yeah.
now. Even on
Yeah.
trips, I could take photos. I mean, I even use it for photos. I mean, it's just.
Yeah. And I think like 5 years from now, it'll still be a great camera.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like even if everyone's doing 16K, it's like, come on, go. We watch things on our phones.
It's like
Even 4K on a big TV is still great. Like it's it's got a lot of dynamic range. Yeah, it's got a great look, and it's got a great. The
Hmm.
batteries are great, autofocus, yeah, all those little
Yeah.
things. The full frame,
Yep.
it's very easy to mount different lenses with the E mount,
For
like to modify lenses and
for
not
weddings,
modify.
we use it
Yeah,
in weddings, and during the because a wedding has so much like the lighting conditions always changing. You're inside the church and you're outside and you're in the reception when it's dark, and it's
yeah,
just the one of the coolest things is the 12,800 ISO when it
it's
switches.
crazy.
If you had no lights and you had no lights at all to light, the dance floor and stuff, and you were just like starting out brand new, as
Yeah,
like a videographer or something, you would be able to light,
it's a
properly
joke.
expose, yeah, at
Yeah,
12,800. You probably even either throw an ND if you wanted to shoot wide open. It's crazy to think like you would pop an ND indoors at night
yeah.
to
Well,
expose your image,
yeah,
which
shooting
is,
documentaries like with the FX6.
yeah.
Um, I think that camera. I mean, I love the A7S3. The FX6, man, it's so small still. A little bit bigger than the A7S3, but you get the NDs. You still get the
Oh yeah.
12,800. You
Hmm.
can control the noise reduction. The image quality is insane. I underexpose them sometimes. Like that's the thing. Like with the A7S3 and the FX6, I can underexpose at a stop, and then to protect highlights on like a at a sunset or a really bright day. The dynamic range is enormous because it's so clean. You can underexpose
Hmm.
if you really need to,
It's
and then it's
great.
approaching Alexa territory of dynamic range, and it's just so small. You can rig it up on the shoulder. You can put it on a car rig.
Yeah.
The versatility of the FX6 is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's probably, yeah, like if I didn't own an Alexa and someone said to me, what would be the best camera to buy? I'd be like, X6. I mean, I think the C70, I want to
Oh yeah.
check that out
Yeah.
because it seems pretty cool too. I haven't used it though,
No,
but I don't know. What's its ISO? What's its story? Does it
I
have like
don't. I
dual
don't know much
ISO?
about. I don't think it has the dual ISO.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know too much about it.
yeah.
But I just wasn't too. I guess for the price,
What's it cost again?
it's going to be around the FX6, I believe. Might be a little more expensive, but the thing is, I think it's cheaper, but then you also have to buy that, what is it, that speed booster to give it a full
Uh,
frame look. So you end
right.
up spending the same amount as you would for the FX6, if
Yeah,
I'm not mistaken.
that's exactly the FX6. You've got the full frame. It's just got everything. And then
Mhm.
I just used the. I mean, Alistair Chapman would hate me for this, but I just use the clear image zoom. If I have a Super 35 lens, I punch in 1.3 times. It still renders it as 4K. I mean, I don't really care because the Alexa only shoots 3.2K.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean? Like 3.2K is fine.
yeah, yeah. I think
It's
the battle, or even as a consumer, maybe a prosumer, people like they see that, oh, 12K, like there are so many, right? There's a 12K camera.
yeah, yeah.
But I think if you have the choice between having really good color depth versus resolution, I think I would choose higher color depth every
Totally.
single time, every single time.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing. The A7S3, you can, and the FX6, you can do RAW. It's just a joke now. It's like, okay, we're at the point where it's getting like, what else do you need? Yeah. So
Uh,
it's no wonder they're so popular. They've
yeah.
been big sellers, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we love it for weddings. That's for sure. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
crazy,
So
crazy camera.
so that's so that's your story. So you're predominantly you have a business shooting weddings.
That's my business. Yeah. So I shoot
Yeah.
weddings. Mostly what it's all wedding photography. Now we just hire out, a couple of our friends now for the video. So
Yeah.
we all work together, and that's the one that's really the package that we sell the most of is photo and video coverage together. So we're doing a lot of weddings together all the
That's great.
time. Yeah. And so we just end up swapping gear. Mostly, he borrows my A7S because so we can have three A7Ss on the wedding day, and I'll he'll give me his A7 III so I can have two A7 IIIs also. So, and we end up just like sharing gear pretty much throughout the wedding day. Yeah.
So what's your how long have you been doing the YouTube channel for?
I started during the pandemic because of the wedding business. Oh, I should go back. So, I mean, I always say this during the podcast, but I was a registered nurse for 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what my primary career, what I went to school for, and everything. I was a nurse, and I guess right. I mean, I did in high school. I did a little bit of photography for the yearbook club, and I got kicked out because and just I'm a terrible employee, I guess is the best way to put it. I want to be on my own. I think at a young age I always knew that. And anyway, so when we had our daughter, our first child, Avery, picked it up again because you take pictures of your kids, right? I mean, in video and all that stuff. And that's how I got into it. It was funny. I was just posting stuff on Facebook and stuff, and people just started asking me to shoot their kids, like first communion or baptisms and stuff like that. And then
do you mind me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off. Sorry. No, keep going.
No. And then just somebody asked me like the week of the wedding, they were in need of a photographer, and I didn't really make much, but I mean, I was like, sure, I'll do it. And that's how I got started in wedding photography. That's really cool. Yeah,
that was how long ago?
This is we're going on 4 years now because my daughter's going to turn 5, so we're going on 4 years now doing this, and it's crazy how it's just built up over. I never would have, if you told me 4 years ago that I would be a full-time wedding photographer, I would be like, I would have laughed. I would have like, what? No, wow. I'm doing nursing. And
that's cool, man.
The pandemic really pushed me into doing this full time because I was, working in the hospital with COVID and stuff. It was the first couple waves, the first wave or two, you're like, okay, but then after this, it just the cycle kind of keeps repeating. It's very hard, man. I had to get out of the hospital, and I said I can't do this anymore. And
wow,
I just decided to take the leap full time photography.
Well, so. that's sort of where I'm at with, like, I'm in a transitional phase of my life right now as well.
Yeah.
Where I'm sort of gonna, it's scary but exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is because I've never done this before. Especially now the pressure's on because I got a family to support too, right? So
sure.
It's like you're so used to having a check coming in every 2 weeks or whatever, and that's what you rely on as your your source of income. And I think the mindset has to change where we're frugal people beforehand. Like, we were pretty frugal to begin with, but now even more so, it's like, we don't, because we just, I don't know. It's just, you're on your own, basically. You really don't have a consistent every 2 week paycheck or whatever coming in. So it's like, you really gotta,
hustle.
Yeah. You gotta, if you don't. And I think people say, like, you're doing like an 8 to 5, and that's, I think when you're on your own, you're not doing just 40 hours a week. You really are. I mean, you're working double time, triple time, but at least, if you're passionate about it, I think that's what's important. If you're happy doing it, never complain about having to go shoot a wedding or anything. I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that.
Yeah. It helps when you've had a job like nursing already, you've had a career. And you always have that as a comparison to be like, well, I chose this, so I only have myself to blame. And it's like, I actually, it's nothing's perfect, but I actually like doing this. That you can say that with confidence,
right? Having
done other things,
Right. And
and
there's going to be a lot of people though in this transitional phase though, because I think the COVID was an eye opener for a lot of people. I think that you kind of have this realization, like, a lot of people are going to realize, like, why am I working for, this company that doesn't either treat its employees improperly or, and people are going to see that. And COVID really pulled the covers off of a lot of these things. And then people are just going to transition and do some stuff that makes them happy. I think there's going to be a lot of that because, it was an eye opener, either that or, people are just realizing that life is short, and why am I going to be stuck in a doing something I don't like?
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. I was like, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm miserable. This is not what I signed
You
up
know,
for.
my wife was a nurse.
Oh, nice.
She also had the same. Yeah, she quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just said it to her. She just didn't want to go to work really, really, really bad one day. And I said, you don't have to go. Like, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do this. And she was just like, it was just, I think she needed someone from the outside just to say that to her. It's like, I could just tell she was miserable.
Yeah.
And are you, by the way, do you mind me, I don't know if you mind me asking, but are you Filipino or half Filipino?
No. Why do you ask?
Just because I know it's very big in the Filipino culture,
Yeah.
a lot of nursing.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have picked it, except that when you said that, I'm like, oh, it may be,
No,
because
well,
my wife is.
my wife's
My wife
Filipino
is.
too. Yeah. So
Oh, wow.
so we went to nursing school together, and
Wow.
and I got to give a lot of credit to her, because I don't honestly, because obviously, because like in high school, right, I got kicked out of, like, Yoruba club. I had no direction. I was a young kid, didn't know what I wanted to do, and obviously my wife was really like into her studies and all that stuff, and we were dating. So I was like, well, I guess I'm doing nursing too, because I don't know what else to do, and that's what we did. I mean, we went to school together and graduated together, and we didn't,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, I really had no direction. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have to credit her a lot for that.
And you feel that's interesting. Yeah, I can relate to a lot of the elements of your story, like wanting to be on your own and thriving in that condition. Because a lot of people, like you said, they want that paycheck. But it's funny, I work so much better project to project, and working for myself. And it's just great when you find a way that you can do that, something you love, that other people, but my sort of philosophy of business is, if you'll be able to make a successful business if you understand that business is just solving problems. That's why people pay. That's what a business does. That's what businesses are in the business of doing. So what you pay me to solve your problems. And it's like, if you can find a way, people need their wedding shot. We need that. That's a problem we need solved. You put your hand up. Hey, I'll do it. You're good at it. People like working with you. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I really enjoyed about when I became a cinematographer a few years ago. It's like, I always had, it was the confluence of a lot of things I like doing. I like leading teams. Like, I'm kind of like, I'm sort of that personality anyway. Like, I do like, and I like performing under pressure. I'm very visual, always have been. I love storytelling. I love communicating. Like, I love the pressure of like the military aspect of like, we're here to achieve a mission and we only have 10 hours to do it and we have to be prepared. Like, I love that. It's just like, in my spare time, I play games where I place a squad leader in this game called Postscriptum, which is a World War II shooter. And I go in there and I lead squads of random people. And because I like leading, I like doing it. Nice. So it's like, you figure out who you are, and you finally put the pieces together of your personality and what you're good at. And what you're good at, that sometimes you're good at the things you're good at, you think you take for granted. You're like, oh, anyone can do that. And sometimes it takes someone else to go, no, you're really good at that. You don't realize that that's not normal. And you're like, oh, okay. Right. So you sort of find that thing where all these personality traits line up, and then there's usually a job. Usually that will lead you. You can make a business that in some way will benefit other people, and they're happy to pay because they don't have the time, or the skill. It's great. Like,
now that you mentioned that, do you know Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary? He's the guy on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
So he was asked a question like, what field of study should you go if you were to go to college? What would it be? And he said maybe 20 years ago it would have been like engineering or the sciences, but he's like, now he's like, with social media and advertising and everything's online, he's like, I would tell somebody to go into the arts, learn how to take pictures really well, learn how to do video, because people are paying a lot of money for that right now. Before, you used to be a starving artist, and now
Yeah.
you're the
Yeah.
guy that's charging 15, 20, whatever thousand for a commercial,
Yeah.
something, whatever, and
Yeah. Yeah.
because these companies don't know how to do that. I mean, if they did, they would they would
Yeah.
probably do it themselves. But it's you need
And then
somebody.
and then there's the artistic side of things. And then on the personal level, if you're an artist, if you are talented creatively, like make sure you get your personal life and your like learn how to communicate, learn how to be organized, learn how to prepare, learn how to be a professional, and which often is hard for artists, like you said, bumbling around, getting kicked out of the school with no direction. That's a classic kind of like creative guy going like, I don't really know what to do. I'm not the most organized guy. Luckily, my ex nurse wife is. She's much more organized than me with my. We have 2 kids as well,
Oh, cool,
2 boys.
cool,
We have a
nice.
3-year-old and an 8-month-old. It's the best. But yeah, like if you're creative, learn how to get that stuff in order. Then you're really cooking with gas. Now you're really got a killer skill set. If you can actually be a dependable person who shows up on time and does the good old fashioned things right
Right.
and prepares, but also has some talent. Yeah, I agree with. Is it Kevin or Dennis O'Leary?
I think it's Kevin O'Leary. Yeah.
Kevin O'Leary. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
Dennis is the comedian. Dennis O'Leary. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I messed up.
Yeah.
I messed up earlier with the because we were supposed to shoot this yesterday, but it was totally.
Oh no, that's okay. That's not me having. No, that isn't. I wasn't saying that to you. Sorry.
I'm joking. But yeah, no, it was funny. It was like it was because we were just putting the kids to bed actually, and I was like, I always triple checking emails, and I was like, what? My heart sank. I was like, oh no. I totally, I forgot you're in different it's day ahead.
We're in the future. We're in the future. It's the future is bright.
Jeez, man.
And apologies for my office here. It's just I just got my laptop and I don't have a really good setup. I need to get a decent setup. I got to get I'm meant to be this cinematographer and I'm in my car and you've got this beautiful tungsten daylight color contrast setup and I look like some like random milk bottle salesman or something.
No, we'll just we'll link your website and we'll just let that do the talking.
Thank you.
It's fine.
No, but I am seriously starting to consider taking my YouTube channel a bit more seriously.
Yeah.
Would you recommend it?
I'm not monetized yet. I mean, it's been a year. It's been a slow. I think it has a lot to do with my end. Trying to find what people are looking for. I don't know.
Yeah.
But because I guess it's different for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even thinking of doing it as I don't want to be a YouTuber. Let's put it that way. But I do want to, I guess, just help people. Once you buy my LUTs, have some resources of like how to expose, how this, what but also just potentially talk about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as you can see in this conversation, I definitely like to talk. But like there are things I think like what we were just talking about like the psychology of this of getting both sides of the brain lined up. Like it could be cool to talk about that kind of stuff. Definitely. And if people want to watch it, they can. If they don't, that's fine.
Well, if they buy it, they're going to either look for reviews or the resources because there's some. So for the wedding on the photography side, there's a lot of presets that people have, and I think the experience, the thing that made the experience a lot better for some of them was that they had resources on YouTube, like showing how they use them.
Exactly.
And, or when you buy it, you get like an hour video that shows you that has the person that created them and goes through the whole, the entire process of how do you use it. So I think I think people will for sure either watch it or At least find it at least helpful. I mean, because you're the guy that created it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
who's better to because we can make videos like showing how we use it, but I think having the insight from somebody who's actually
Well, I also think talking about lighting, I mean, there's a million lighting,
Mhm.
there's a million people out there talking about lighting, but again, just talking about in my own particular way what I've learned, and talk about pre-production, talk about all these things for anybody that wants to learn, and
yeah.
yeah, I'm considering that could be cool to put out there, just because I do like teaching, I like passing on
Yeah.
what I've learned. It's kind of another part of my personality. So maybe, yeah, it was Danny Gewirtz actually suggested it to me.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah,
Did
because
you?
he's the person that came to mind when you said pre-production, because he just posted a video on it actually for
Yeah,
one of his little like commercials that he made,
yeah.
walking through the entire process from the pre-production to the actual shooting to the lighting to the editing, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, did you catch the kind of his video last week about how he had been selling basically my LUTs? Did you catch that? The
No.
controversy? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hey, I wanted to bring it up to you actually.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, I didn't want to, honestly, I didn't want to ruffle any feathers.
Yeah,
But I bought his LUTs too, and I noticed.
yeah, yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
I sent a text, and I might even be able to put the text here on the screen. I don't know how controversial it is, but I was
Well,
like,
this is all out in the open now. It's all out in the open.
he
Yeah.
was selling your LUTs.
You're not the first person. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you're not the first
Oh,
person to notice, and I had another friend notice, and then in the comments. So look, I'm thinking of making a video about this, just my reaction to it. So Danny and me are cool. Jump to the end. It went. We sorted it all
oh,
out. So I contacted him. Because
oh,
I didn't know anything about him. I'd seen his face a couple of times, recommended videos. I never watched him. And then someone posted 3 weeks ago, whatever, his baseball film
uh-huh.
in the A7S3 Facebook group. And I watched it and I was like, that's my LUTs. Like, I know from a mile away, like that guy's using my LUTs. So I'm like, and the second thing I thought was, wow, this guy's super talented. This is really cool. Like a Sony FX3 users, like a YouTuber's making something so cool. So I went to his video description and it said graded with his LUTs. And I was like, wait, because I'm telling you, there are just things my LUTs are doing. Based on the things I was telling you before and other things I haven't mentioned, that I'm like, I've never seen that look elsewhere. So I
Oh
went and bought his
man.
LUTs. I was so sure. I'm like, this guy's using my LUTs, and so I went and bought his LUTs. No. First thing I did was I went to my web store and I saw he
That
had
he
bought my
purchased.
LUTs.
Oh no.
So then I went and bought his LUTs, and very quickly noticed that were basically, yeah, especially like his clean
Yeah,
LUT
it's clean.
was
Yeah,
just my LUT with a limited
exactly.
contrast, basically.
Exact.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
That's
And
what
so
I have a text message to prove it. I was like,
yeah, yeah.
I just bought his LUTs and I applied it, and it looks exactly like Joel, like the Phantom LUTs, but with the contrast added to it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it looks a little bit
So
more crunchier, but that's it.
that's it.
Oh
And yeah, so I
no.
contacted him, and to his credit, he was immediately admitted it, like, it was apologetic and was just like,
Oh no.
yeah, like, is that not okay? And I'm like, no. So it was basically, I believe, at the end of the day, at the time, I was upset a bit, and I didn't know if he did this on purpose. I didn't know how he'd respond,
Oh
but he
man.
responded perfectly and honestly, and then just sort of really genuinely thought it was okay. And I said, it's not okay, man. He thought it was like a Rec 709 LUT, like Sony makes or Canon makes. Like, yeah, no, it's my emulation. Like, not emulate. It's like film convert, or like
You're
film.
right.
They emulate film. I'm emulating the Alexa. Like, that's a lot of. It's 3 years plus of work. And then
Oh.
he immediately went, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And so we sorted it all out. He made a public video, which I thought was really nice and very generous of him. And he, went back and updated the video descriptions of all of his videos for the last 4 months, saying he used my LUTs, and he did the right thing. Like, so yeah, and even financially, like, we sorted out. Like, obviously, he made some money selling them, So we came to an arrangement and a percentage we were both happy with, and I'm fully happy. I have nothing bad to say about that guy. I actually really respected the way he handled it.
Oh
But
wow.
in that process of talking, he was like, "You ever consider doing a YouTube channel?" I'm like, "Oh, not really, not really." But
I'm
yeah, you
gonna
should
call.
check it out. The video.
I'm gonna watch it now. I'm gonna call my buddy up and tell him, look, I was,
You were right.
I was right. And
Yeah,
I wanted to email you about it, but I had to. Honestly, I didn't want to cause any tension either because I was just like,
yeah,
I could
yeah,
be wrong, right? Like I could
yeah,
just be
yeah.
seeing things or something. Who knows? Like, but
No,
it
no,
looks oddly.
I analyzed it. Yeah, yeah. So it was true. So he had basically repackaged them. So he made a video saying, "I'm sorry. Here's what happened. I apologize to Joel, and now I'm going to do what I should have done from the beginning." And then he released some LUTs that work with my neutral LUT. So almost again like the mannequin, and then
Uh,
the costume. So he's made some look LUTs that will work with any Rec 709 LUT. And then he said he recommended mine, which I thought was nice. And then I set up a code for him, just and so we kind of ended up on good terms. So,
oh, nice. That's so
but
awesome.
it was stressful before I contacted him, not knowing how he was going to respond. I didn't know the guy. I didn't know anything about him.
Yeah, no, but he seems really genuine on his videos. So it sounds like something he would
Yeah,
do,
he is.
like that he
Yeah,
would, and I kind of would believe that he genuinely was just like unsure that he
yeah,
was doing something
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. And the way he responded was consistent with that. Like he didn't really push back and sort of try to. Yeah, he just wasn't antagonistic at all. He was just very honest about it. So I thought that was. It couldn't have gone better, to be honest. Like it was kind of a fairy tale ending for me because I thought maybe this could have gone really ugly, but it didn't. So, um, yeah, yeah, that's the world. That's what that can happen. Yeah,
I'm,
but it's funny. It's funny that you as well noticed because a few guys in the comments were like, "I thought that," and yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
thought came to my head, but it was just a thought. I didn't really like want to act on it or anything. Like, hey, maybe. But yeah, it was that thought. I was like, I wonder. But then I was like,
yeah,
because this also like again, everyone's trying to match to the Alexa, right? Like that's the. So I figured,
yeah,
oh, maybe they got. I don't know.
yeah,
I just don't know why I
yeah,
didn't and look
yeah.
into it further.
No, no, I understand. There were people who did reach out to me, and then there were people who, when I said it, they reacted the way you did. Like, I thought that, So
Yeah.
it's it was, yeah, it's obviously it's a tricky thing when it first happens. But yeah, and the point is, he mentioned the YouTube channel, and he's actually what he's doing is really cool. And one thing he said to me was like, when you make something you care about, because what the cool thing about Danny, I think, is he makes cool stuff. Like a lot of YouTubers don't. Like no offense to YouTubers, but a lot of them, and that's not a. They don't have to. Like they're there for any number of reasons. But what I like about Danny is he was a cinematographer
Mhm.
working for freelance, and then he left that to do YouTube. And I'm sort of similar. Like I'm a cinematographer. I still am, but I am getting to the point where I'm starting to back away from it a little bit because I just prefer the freedom of working on, doing stock video and Phantom Luts and everything. And yeah, but I do want to make stuff in the future. I do want to make cool stuff. And it's like Danny was saying, once you have an audience, it's like having
Mhm.
your own little film festival. You put it out there and you get hundreds of thousands of views. And that was the best argument for a YouTube channel I ever heard was like, if
Mhm.
you cultivate your YouTube channel as you're an artist, you're somebody who actually wants to make cool stuff, then
Right.
having an audience is pretty
Well,
enticing. It's pretty,
technically, you already have an audience of
I do.
people,
Yeah, I do
right?
already.
Like,
Yeah, I do have an audience. Or exactly. So if I did transition to the YouTube channel, it might not be as difficult for me, maybe as others,
yeah. I
to
think you
start from
would
absolute scratch.
definitely take traction right away as soon as I think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you do one video a week?
I do one video a week. I didn't do one last week. I just had my I'm going to talk
Wisdom.
about it, but I just had my wisdom teeth pulled out, all 4 of them. So like, this
damn.
last week was miserable. I'm still there, swollen but a little bit, but no, last week was bad. So
Yeah.
but yeah, once a week usually. I would say I'm not anyone to talk, right? Because I'm still a very small channel in the scheme of things, but I would say the try to get an editor maybe. That helped me out quite a bit when I was very busy. During the busy times, for sure.
For YouTube.
For YouTube, at least, yeah. I mean, if for basic videos, I'm sure an editor can handle like, that kind of stuff. Like if you wanted to make like a really really cool video, maybe then you could obviously do it yourself. But for a while, I had an editor just doing like just me sitting down talking heads and B-roll. That's it.
Yeah, nice.
It's nice just to hand your footage off and you don't have to worry about it, and you can just upload it again. With the finished product.
That's good advice, actually.
Yeah, because especially during the busy times, and we're actually considering that now with the wedding business too, is handing off all these because in October we're gonna be kind of busy. I'm kind of considering maybe making that the transition point to hiring an editor for those type of things, because it takes a lot of time. It really does. Yeah, it takes a lot of time.
Yep, for sure. Editing is a killer.
Yeah, so I think handing that off to somebody, freeing up your time for making awesome LUTs.
I'm excited, man. Like, when I get home, I'm gonna send you the new LUT. It'll be cool to. It's a little bit richer. I got rid of the green tint in the shadows, which I think is cool.
Okay.
You'll see when you use it. Yeah, because that's what the Alexa sensor does. But trying to emulate that in a LUT, I've realized actually isn't the way to go. So now it's going to be a little bit cleaner all throughout. So I'm really, I'm really looking forward to getting them finished and getting them out there.
Nice. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So
all right, man. Well,
yeah. I appreciate you doing this. Even from the very, very get go, you've been always been very, responsive to emails and just, I appreciate it, man. Even considering the size of the YouTube channel when we first got together, I mean, a lot of people would have just said no, no. Right off the bat.
I think I just appreciated the effort you put in. Sometimes I have people contact me that, it really is more about that.
Yeah.
And sometimes to my detriment, I guess, but like I want to work with good people. I want to work with people who are, I don't know, passionate. And it's even like people say to me, why don't you make LUTs for HLG? And I'm like, because they'd suck. Like HLG has less dynamic range and it's not as good to make LUTs. It's not going to work. And they're like, you may keep some money. And I'm like, yeah, but the LUTs wouldn't be up to my standard. Like, why haven't you made LUTs for other cameras? I'm like, I'm still perfecting the LUTs for these 5 cameras. I'm not ready. I don't want to just expand and make low quality LUTs. Like I really want the quality to be across all cameras 100%. So it's slower, but but that does link to you, like just when I don't know, just the way you contacted me in the video you had already made. I think I was like, this guy's already sort of he gets it,
I've already made a comparison, and then obviously I wanted to just make one just dedicated video, and I appreciate it. I didn't expect you to say yes. To be honest, if I'm going to be honest with you, but when you said yes, I was like, all right, well, let's do it. We're gonna make a video.
Yeah.
And that was during the time I was doing nursing. I was working 5-6 days a week. So my 2-3 days off, I just went out with the kids at the park, shot footage, and
tried. So you were nursing, shooting weddings, and a YouTube channel.
Right. Yeah.
And had a family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dear God, man.
Yeah.
You found that direction. You found that motivation that you were lacking in high school.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I always said, like, you know what, once if I ever stop nursing, like, I have like 40 to 60 hours taken away from me every week during that time.
Yeah.
I mean, I just imagine
What you could do.
what I
Dude,
could
that's how I
do.
feel with the Luts. That's how I feel with the Luts. I'm like, I'm writing my own schedule for the week. I'm
Mhm.
like, this is new decision. This is like a week and maybe 8-9 days ago. I woke up beginning of last week and went, all right, I'm going to step away from cinematography for a little while and I'm just going to do this. And it was the best feeling. It was like I'd been wanting to do it for so long, but I just, I wasn't ready. But
Mhm.
I know what you mean. It's like when you're like, yeah, I have so much time. It's such a good feeling when you're in control of that time.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is. It's yeah, I don't know. I could go on about this, but that during that aspect, I think that part was important to go through, having to work, the family, the wedding business, and then trying to start a YouTube channel and all that. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
going through that was important, so I can understand the importance of time and people's time and that sort of thing, because yeah, it was very, very I don't want to do that again though.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I'm okay
Yeah.
now.
You learn. Good. As long as you learn your lesson, it's chalk it up as a learning experience.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that was some trying and time, like very in even it's just a lot. It just sounds like a lot, and it is. It is a lot. It is a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but yeah, yeah. I don't know. Is there any other things going on, or anything else you want to maybe just plug in before? Are you okay with
Yeah.
me
Look.
putting this on YouTube, or I could just put it
Yeah.
to my
Yeah. I mean,
podcast if you want? I mean, either or.
yeah. I mean, it's up to you, man. I mean, it's a long conversation. If you think people want to listen to it, I don't
I
mind.
don't know. I don't
If
know.
you want
Maybe.
to edit it, it's up to you, man. I'll be happy whatever you do. I didn't say anything I regret or anything I'm worried about. So it's just about you entertaining people. If you think it's too long, I totally get it.
Yeah, I could
If you think it's
try.
perfect, yeah,
I think there might be some people that might be interested in hearing about, I don't know. We'll
yeah,
see. I'll try it. I'll put it
yeah.
to YouTube and
But
see
yeah, I'm
see how it
easy.
takes.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you have
And
any
I'll have to.
websites or Instagrams or anything that you want maybe to link or
Well,
talk about real
I
quick?
am not yet, but I will. I am considering starting like a Facebook page for Phantom Luts, like a group.
Okay.
So that's what I mean with doing this right now. I have more time. I'm thinking of starting a community where, and then an Instagram page where people can send me their best work, and I'll feature it,
Mm-hmm.
and really do it like a community. It could be cool. It could be cool to have a community and have this. I don't know. I think that I might actually go down that road. I've had people ask me for years to do that, but it'd be cool, to have guys like you and other YouTubers that I sort of partner with that are part of that community. Not that it would ask much of your time. You don't have to do anything, but just there, it is kind of like, I think that could be cool. Just sort of, and even just have you guys to test new things for me, and, it gives you content if you need.
So towards the end, we got kind of cut off there. I guess his phone died or ran out of battery. So that kind of ended the podcast. But anyways, if you guys like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. Share it to people who might be interested in the Phantom Luts. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you guys listening through the entire thing. And I will see you guys in the next video.